Hi, welcome to Hollywood Crime Scene. This is Rachel Fisher.
Hi, I'm Desi Jedeikin.
And today we're going to be talking about the Hollywood madam herself, Heidi Fleiss. Desi, do you remember this story was a huge story when it first broke in 1993?
Of course, yeah.
Then, of course, it was overshadowed by the big stories that came in 94.
Which were?
O.J. Simpson.
Oh, was that 94? Right,
That was 94 because, yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, murder.
Murder. Trump's sex scandals, unfortunately. What is fortunate is that this sex scandal story has a lot of juice.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about all the cum that was being squirted all over Hollywood.
Or OJ, who's also known as the juice.
Good one.
Thank you.
That was a good one. All right, let's get into it.
Okay.
So Heidi Fleiss was born December 30th, 1965.
That's my birthday, by the way, December 30th.
Oh my God.
I didn't know I had a celebrity born on my birthday.
Oh.
What a good one.
I like that you get Heidi. I get Betty Davis.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we both get notorious bad
Wait a
bitches.
second.
Sorry.
That's highly unfair. Although Heidi Fleiss is better than Rudyard Kipling, which I think was my other.
Yeah.
And Sandy Koufax, which is kind of a cool one.
Like a lot of our, we've only done like a few episodes, but like some of our other people, I learned a lot about Heidi Fleiss than just I remember from the news stories and the trial and who she was portrayed as in the media. So my opinions of her became a lot more nuanced after researching this case. So Heidi Fleiss was born December 30th, 1965 in Los Angeles, California to Elisa Ash and Paul Fleiss. Her father was a wealthy pediatrician and they lived in the Los Feliz area. Oh. Which is funny because I was reading several old articles from the early 90s and Los Feliz back then was described as a middle class neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't described as it would be today, which is very much wealthy, white. It's not even hipster anymore. It's just like wealthy because all the hipsters are grown up and have kids. And
right.
It's
like design within reach hipster.
Yeah, totally. That's such a good description. But they were well off. They had money. And her dad was kind of a star fucker. He liked to hang around sort of famous people and brag about...
Like father, like daughter.
Like father, like daughter. They were also hippies. I'm pretty sure they had a home birth. I was watching one of their old home movies and they were sort of swaddling this like really gnarly looking baby that looked like it had just been born.
It was like covered in gel.
It was
like
covered
in Poltergeist.
It was totally like in Poltergeist. So yeah. At 13, Heidi was a very popular babysitter in her neighborhood. The parents loved her.
Oh, I bet the dads did.
That was what I thought too at first. Like, oh, she's probably tarting it up.
Yeah.
She was getting like a lot of babysitting jobs and she was just booking up fast to where she couldn't handle the amount of work that she was getting. So she began recruiting her friends to work for her. Sort of like in the Babysitters Club.
Right.
This was like the hoe version of the Babysitters Club.
Right. And it's an early predictor of her future career.
Well, it showed what the knack for business and hustling she had, is that she was recruiting her girlfriends to be like, all right, and she would even, this is cool, she would even pair them off with who she thought would match. Yeah. They'd work with best. Like, right. You can handle these kids, you can handle these parents, which is sort of like...
Did she take a cut?
Yes.
Okay.
She took a cut. Very smart little 13-year-old girl. I wish I was that good at hustling when I was 13. I mean, I was a babysitter. That was my first job when I was 12. I did it. I even nannied like regular for families.
I was a babysitter at 13. My only thing I did was I decided to design Cabbage Patch shirts and I would have people buy them and I would put their kids' color of hair and their eye color.
That's like the original American Doll, but white trash.
Exactly. The white trash American Doll. I invented that fucking shit.
So on brand.
But then I didn't end up doing them. I just took orders and never did it because I was like, fuck it. So it was not as enterprising.
You're like,
as
I got to deal with getting molested back at home.
I just liked filling out the forms. Like, I was very official, but then I was like, and no one called me on it.
So Heidi was running her own little babysitting group, and she was taking a cut of the girls who were working under her. So even though Heidi came from this well-off family, she got really into shoplifting for the thrill of it when she was a teenager. She liked cutting school. She wasn't into going to school at all. She really liked going off and doing bad things, smoking pot. She was like selling pot for a minute. And at the age of 16, she ended up dropping out of high school, but she received her GED. And during this time, she was hitting up the Hollywood club scene, you know, because she lived in Los Feliz, which is the next town over from Hollywood. And she's going out with her girlfriends. She's already being the wild child party girl. One of her friends even recounted that she would walk past everyone standing in line outside of a club and just flash them for attention.
Wow.
So I'm like,
she's the original selfie whore.
She is. And she's 16. So she also was really into going to the racetrack when she was a teenager. She loved gambling. And she would bet and she would bring home money. At 19, while she was working as a waitress, she got an invite to a fancy party from one of her coworkers at a mansion in Beverly Hills. This is where she met financier Bernie Kornfeld, a man who was 40 years older than her, and the two of them began a relationship.
The least hot name ever, maybe.
It really is. It's not a good name. Bernie lavished Heidi with gifts, with money, with luxury vacations. He even gave her $1 million once.
Is she 18 at this point?
She's 19.
19.
But this guy's like 61.
Jesus.
I mean, he's fucking old. And here's the thing. I respect the hustle. I totally have no problem with women having sugar daddies, doing what they need to do, as long as both parties are being honest about the intentions. You're not hurting anybody and it's consensual. Me, personally, I've always been slightly resentful of myself that I've never been able to fuck someone I'm not attracted to.
I was just thinking that I wish I could sleep my way to the top.
I wish I could too. That's a skill that I just do not have. I am terribly bad at fucking my way to the top. I fucked people who are unattractive before, but I always have to be at least a little bit initially attracted to them.
Right.
Even if after the fact I'm disgusted with myself.
I'm not morally opposed to it. I just can't do it.
I'm not morally opposed to it either.
I wish I could. I try to psych myself into it.
I wish I could be fucking the Bernie Kornfeld.
I put Eye of the Tiger on. I try.
You do Kegels.
Right. So it's not like a moral thing for me. I just don't have interest and I'm very lazy.
I respect the hustle. Right. But here's the thing. Heidi was into older men. She liked men over 45. She was not going to be down to be fucking a guy her own age or even in their 20s or 30s. She wanted older men and especially rich older men. Respect. So.
I don't mind if they're old, but if they're like, they need to be a strong daddy.
They need to be a strong daddy. Personally, I don't think Bernie Kornfeld was very hot. He kind of looked like the Sultan from Aladdin. He had that haircut. He had the
Wait, Jafar or
no, the Sultan, the little
the Sultan,
the little
right,
cute little
sorry,
portly,
yeah,
like Jasmine,
right. Because Jafar, that's hot, maybe in the right circumstances.
Well, when it got weirdly sexual in Aladdin at the end when Jasmine was like seducing Jafar and she's in the red outfit,
right?
Yeah,
I'm always want to fuck the Disney villains.
Well, yeah, they're the
especially
hottest.
Like Scar.
Everyone knows that Ursula.
Yeah,
will put a strap on and
Ursula
fuck you.
She'll peg you.
She will peg you. Okay, so the pair broke it off because Bernie couldn't stay faithful and Heidi wasn't into that. And it's like the nerve. He has this hot little 19-year-old.
Wait, he wouldn't stay faithful to her and she was mad?
Yes. She actually liked him. Like, she was actually in love with this guy. She wanted to fuck him.
That's a very 19-year-old attitude, I feel. Because if, like, you're in the hustle, you just should be in it for the hustle.
Right.
Like, she fell in love, and that's a very 19-year-old, oh,
right.
I love you.
Maybe I'm different. Maybe we have something in common.
Right,
it's like, you have nothing in common. He was born in, like, you know, the 1800s, and you were born in the 60s.
Right.
So, what do you have in common?
Ugh. That's why you can't fuck down, because when they cheat on you, and it will happen probably.
It's embarrassing.
It's really embarrassing.
Okay, so after they broke it off, Heidi moved on to 50-year-old Hungarian director Ivan Nagy. Their relationship was tumultuous, to say the least, and we will get into that in a minute. Ivan introduced Heidi to Elizabeth Adams, and she was known as Madame Alex. and they met in 1989. Now, during the 70s and 80s, Madame Alex was the Madame to the Stars. She was Heidi Fleiss before Heidi Fleiss. She was hooking up sheiks and wealthy businessmen and politicians and celebrities with her call girls, and she was really into like these buxom California beach bunny blonde girls. That was her thing. She affectionately called the girls her creatures, and she boasted that she had the best looking women in the business. So when Yvonne brought Heidi to her, it was actually to settle a $450 gambling debt that Heidi had, and Alex was willing to pony up the cash in exchange for Heidi to go out and be a girl for Madame Alex one night.
But she was not a buxom blonde.
No, and Madame Alex actually had some choice things to say about that. Alex said to Naj of Heidi, "Heidi's a very nice girl, but she's not even a 5. She barely makes it to 5. I said to him, "How can you bring me this?" I taught her a little bit of fixing herself, but she had a way with men. Men liked her. So Heidi definitely had the personality. She was able to attract men. She was good at that. She wasn't the hottest chick in LA.
But she was more charming or smarter probably.
Right, and she reminded them probably more of like the girl they liked in history class maybe, or whatever, like the girl next door, but she wasn't as conventionally attractive as these Hollywood hoes that were getting pimped out. So Heidi also alleges, well, she says, she's flat out has said this many times before, that she gives the world's worst blowjobs.
The worst?
The worst.
Oh, wow.
And she actually is proud of that she owns this. I really respect that she owns this, because she says, every girl says they give the best blowjob. Well, you know what? I give the worst blowjob. I am terrible at being a prostitute. I'm not good at it, and I'm proud of that. I give the worst blowjobs, and I respect that she's like at least being honest with herself. I don't know.
Is she, or is she just trying to be different?
Hot take.
I'll be the judge. She needs to suck my dick.
So Heidi wasn't made for being a prostitute herself, although she did it a few times. Naj actually denies that the transaction between him, Heidi, and Madame Alex ever occurred. I don't really take a lot of what he has to say at face value, and you'll find out why in a minute. But he says he didn't even want to bring her to work for Alex in the first place. But Heidi started working for Alex under her as sort of an assistant, helping Alex revamp her business. Alex had also recently been arrested. She never went to jail. Alex had been arrested like 13 times, and she never actually ended up going to jail. For pandering is what they call it, which is like such a ridiculous euphemism. That's what they call prostitution charges, is pandering. So, and Madame Alex, actually, what I found out, she was a pretty eccentric woman, and I've watched several interviews with her. She was a stout, older Filipina woman. She was not like what you picture in some old movie about a glamorous, older Hollywood madam,
like it's Mae West.
Right. Like I always picture Mae West, or I picture in that episode of The Simpsons with the brothel, the very famous, I picture that lady.
Yeah.
Or I picture even Lady Tremaine from the Disney version of Cinderella.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's what I picture when I think of a madam. But Madame Alex was not like that at all. She was, by the late 80s and early 90s, she was pretty much just staying at her house. She was a shut-in. She loved her cats. She actually fed her cats expensive shrimp and clams on china plates, which I thought, I'm like, that's probably going to be me, to be honest.
That's the ultimate fancy feast.
It really reminded me of Fancy Feast. Ding, ding!
Yeah, and the cat runs up. Shrimp.
I mean, so
you don't want to have the cocktail sauce in that. Oy.
Oy. So that's what she was doing. But Alex would later allege that Alex and Yvonne Naj fucking hated each other. I don't know, I guess at one point they must have liked each other because they knew each other well enough to introduce Heidi into the picture.
Right.
But Alex and Naj have said some really awful things about each other. I mean, Naj...
what was Naj again, a director?
Naj was a director. He directed Starsky and Hutch.
Oh, wow.
He was a TV director.
Cool.
And he had money. He was also doing some shady shit on the side, too.
Of course.
So Alex basically later alleged that Naj was beating up Heidi, which actually can be corroborated from other sources, as well as other women who have been in relationships with him, who have been beaten up with him. And just his whole, just knowing what I found out about him, he seems like a pretty shitty piece of shit.
The shittiest piece of shit.
The shittiest piece of shit. Madam Alex, at first, when I was, like, finding out all the stuff about the cats and the shrimp, I'm like, oh, I like this weird bitch.
Yeah.
She's kind of crazy.
It's very Grey Gardens.
But then this is where I went,
Yeah, record scratch.
I was watching this interview with Alex, and she's talking about how Naj stole a bunch of jewelry from her. And in the interview, she goes, he's a greedy Jew pig.
What?
And all of a sudden, it was the...
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I don't like you anymore.
You're not as charming anymore.
No, you're just gross. Naj said of Alex, she's a drug addict and the most horrible human being I've ever met in my life. She's pure evil.
Wow.
So that's like a big statement there.
Right.
Alex said of Heidi, so these people were saying shitty shit behind each other's back.
Right.
Alex said of Heidi, Heidi's lovable in her own way when she's not being a twat.
Oh, I'm going to use that.
It's such the, like, southern bless your heart.
Yeah, when she's not being a twat.
Like, she's nice when she's not being a twat.
Yeah, I like twat. I'm going to bring that back.
I just like that this old, like, 60-year-old Filipino woman was using the word twat.
Right.
I think it was really funny.
I think it's good.
So Heidi worked for Madam Alex for about 18 months before breaking off and starting her own business. And she took most of Alex's clients with her, which Alex was obviously not happy about. And this was the period in which Alex would call the whore wars. And so...
And the worst part is the cats had to drink canned tuna. Eat canned tuna.
They were not
Don't fuck with my cats.
Right, you fucking bitch.
The whore wars.
The whore wars. So Heidi was like, fuck you, I'm starting my own business. I can do this way better than you can.
Right.
And she kind of did. She revolutionized it. She was really good at this business. And by 1991, her call girl business was booming. And then in July of 1992, she moved into a $1.6 million home in Benedict Canyon, which for those of you who don't know where that is, that's like Beverly Hills area. Very expensive homes in Benedict Canyon. Heidi was making a shit ton of money. Girls were typically, like, on the lower end, they were getting $1,500 a night, and
Wow.
Heidi was getting 40% of the cut. At the height of Heidi's success, on her worst night, she said she took in $7,000, and on her best night, she took in $97,000.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
No. We can't even get $100 on our Patreon.
I was just going to say, I was like, if everyone could donate $1 to our Patreon, that would be tight. I want to make... And the other thing is, I'm like, as I'm researching Heidi Fleiss, I'm getting super jealous. I'm like, this should have been my calling. I should have been a madam.
It seems pretty easy.
Because here's my deal. I think sex work should be decriminalized. I think it should be legalized. I think it should be regulated. I think there's nothing morally wrong with selling your body for sex.
Right.
I think it's a travesty that sex workers get subjected to the awful treatments mostly because there is no regulations on it, and
Right.
that if there were regulations, we could have safer conditions. I don't know if it was regulated, if it would... I guess you could still have madams, could be like an agent,
Right.
basically.
Right.
But
Although it probably wouldn't be as necessary.
right.
Although they would provide the hookups, I guess. So it would still probably be necessary.
You could have curations of women, and like, you're the liaison, essentially.
Right, and men might want to go to the better agency, then there would probably be, like, hierarchy of it.
Right, and then there'd be the freelance girls, of course, who were like, hey, I got
I
my
didn't
own...
get your check.
Right.
Half the job is just getting paid.
Right. Seriously. Hey.
I'm freelance. Oh, I need to get an agent.
Right. But I could be the agent. I could be the whore agent. And I'm just thinking about this because I'm not cut out to be a prostitute. I'm not cut out to be a sex worker. I'm sorry if I'm using the wrong terminology. I'm not cut out to be a sex worker. But I do think I'm cut out to be a Hollywood madam.
Right.
I really like working with women.
I like the term madam.
I love the term madam. I feel like it's a really convenient way to age gracefully.
Yeah, definitely.
Because when you're a madam, you're automatically a very mysterious, hot, older woman.
It's very hot, whereas ma'am is not hot.
Right.
Like madam is like, yes, you respect me.
Right.
I will kill you.
And I could wear lots of brocades.
You could wear
silk
turbans.
Robes. Oh, I would wear so many turbans and robes.
Really nice caftans, like that are flattering.
Yes! Yes! Oh, I want to be a madam. So, I got some juice about an experience from one of Heidi's call girls. One of her girls described a night that took place in the Bahamas with herself and 3 other girls and a John. He wanted something up his ass, the John, but they couldn't find anything to put up his ass.
How is that possible?
Well, he had to make do with what they had in the Bahamas. I mean,
right. So he wanted to have like a very official sex toy up his ass rather than looking around the house. Because I feel like I can always find something to stick up there.
Well, he did. This is what he
good.
did. But I think it's very odd because I feel like you're in the Bahamas. You can't find a banana there.
Or like an agave. I don't know.
That's Mexico, Desi. Get
Sorry.
it right. So this guy, this John, he took a wire hanger.
Wow.
I know.
It's like a male abortion.
This just seems like so much more work than just going to the grocery store and getting a fucking cucumber or banana.
Seriously.
Like, he takes a wire hanger. I'm pretty sure it's a wire hanger because he bends the head of it, but so it's not a spike going up his ass. He wraps, like, a face towel around it.
Jesus.
Puts a rubber band, like, molds a phallus out of the face towel, and then puts a condom on top of it. And I feel like, I mean, I guess maybe you do that because it's more slick than the terry cloth going up your asshole.
You do need the condom.
You need the condom.
Think, yeah.
And they used that. And the sex worker that was allowing him to do this or fucking him with this hanger dildo was like, it was fucking disgusting, but whatever, to each his own.
Right. I mean, this is a DIY show I would watch.
How
to fuck anything.
It's very Project Runway, but ass play.
Yeah.
It's like, here's an unconventional
Project ass play. You have 30 minutes in the 99-cent store.
Right. Make it
to
work.
create an arsenal of dildos.
Make it work, sex workers. So,
copywriting that idea, please don't steal it.
Project ass play.
Or any kind of DIY sex toys, like, kind of thing. I think is amazing.
If any of our fans have video production capabilities and want to make a short where Desi and I host Project Ass Play and we release people in the 99-cent store or a gardening store for 30 minutes.
Sure.
We can do that.
I think that for $100 Patreon, you'll get our own homemade version.
Oh my god.
We'll make you a homemade dildo.
See?
Yeah.
I wish I could give our listeners tip picks, but like I said before, I'm not cut out for the work of being a sex worker.
That's fine.
I wish I was. Okay, let's get back to Heidi's relationship with Yvonne, the massive prick. So even though Heidi wasn't technically still with this guy, they were still very much in each other's lives. One of Heidi's girls and her friend, also in real life, her name was Lahua. It's spelled, she's a white chick, by the way. It's spelled Lahua. Kind of like Lahula, but without the extra L.
It sounds French for the whore.
Well, that's what Heidi used to call her.
Oh, really? Of course.
It's Lahore.
Because it's perfect.
Her name's
Lahua. It's like a Staten Island. Yeah, Lahua's here.
Lahua's.
Oh, look, Tony. Lahua's here. She came from the Bada Bing. Sorry.
That's what it sounds like. Her name is Lahua Reed.
I'm sorry. I cannot believe someone would choose that name or name their kid that.
I had to look it up to see the spelling of it.
I would have gone down a rabbit hole like you wouldn't believe that name.
Well, I thought it was Lahore at first, but then I'm like, oh, it's Lahua.
So crazy.
So she tells a story about how Heidi and Yvonne, they were in each other's lives, but they fucking hated each other too. Even though, like, she would always go back to him to fuck him, and there was...
Wait, that's Najee?
Yeah, Najee.
Yvonne
Najee.
Okay.
Yeah, they were pronouncing it Naj.
Right.
And Najee.
I like it. It sounds like a cologne from the 80s.
Najee. It does.
Najee.
It's like the Dracula Noir, but for springtime.
Okay.
Okay, so one time Heidi got a bunch of like photocopies made of a naked Yvonne, and she just posted them on cars all over town the day he had a court date, which I thought was a pretty sick burn.
It's a sick burn, and I always admire people who go above and beyond to be petty.
I admire women who go above and beyond to be psycho petty.
Right, because I have the ideas, but I'm just very lazy.
Right, not in a harmful way, but in a comical way.
Right, a comical way.
Like one time, I have a really good story about psycho petty that I just was reminded of. One of my closest friends since childhood, when we were 21, we were leaving this coffee shop together, and we see her ex-boyfriend's car, and this guy had just ripped her fucking heart out, and we're both carrying tea. At the time, I couldn't have caffeine. It made me too anxious. We were carrying teas, and she sees this guy's car, and she's like, that motherfucker. So she takes out her lipstick, and she's like, I'm gonna write on his car. And this is how insane my friend is. She doesn't just write, like, you asshole. She writes vaginal blood fart on his windshield. I don't even know what that means, but that's what she wrote on his windshield. Then she took the tea bags out of our teas and she put them on. And
you're like, wait, I'm still steaming.
But she teabagged his car, literally. And wrote one of the most disgusting phrases I've ever heard.
Now who's teabagging who?
But that is the level of psycho petty that I respect, because it's not...
It doesn't even make sense.
Because it's so absurd. You don't know if you're offended or not.
Right. There's technically nothing really offensive because it's all stupid, but it's just the anger is what drives it and makes it so glorious.
Right, and it's tea bags too on the car, which is like...
So he came out and he's like, what? Like if you had keyed it, he'd instantly know, but this is like...
Because keying is like more aggressive and more sort of, oh, I gotta get this fixed, but you can Windex off lipstick.
Right.
But it's still inconvenient enough where it's shitty, but not shitty where you're like, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker.
Right.
It's more just embarrassing, which is, I think, the point.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was an aside. So Heidi would bitch to Lahua all the time about, I fucking hate this guy, and Lahua would be like, why do you even still fuck him? Why do you still go over there? And Heidi'd be like, ugh.
Every girl is familiar with that, saying that to their friends.
Every girl has either been Heidi in this scenario or has been Lahua in this scenario, where you're like, seriously? You need to drop this idiot. So Heidi was like, oh, I don't know. It's like he threatened to cut off my little brother's arms and legs if I wouldn't fuck him. That was the defense that Heidi, which I feel like is really over the top. Although I wouldn't necessarily put that past Najee because he's insane.
Right.
But I feel like if I heard my friend say that, I'd be like, come on.
Right.
Your little brother's arms and legs, cut them off. Okay.
Right. Or like, let's go to the police.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
but she's like, oh, Najee.
Yeah. Ugh.
So I watched a home movie that Najee had made. Najee was a fucking piece of shit. He like released so much home videos of Heidi and naked pictures.
So he capitalized on her.
He totally capitalized on her. And there was a video, lots of videos of her released, just them, whatever, like naked. And there's this naked video of her, and he's just like, come on, baby, show me your tits. Ugh. Come on, just one tit. He was doing just one tit. I love when guys do that. Let me just see one tit. Not that I've had a lot of guys do that, but I've just heard, you know.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's something I've heard before. It's gross. And then, oh, show me your pussy. I watched the tape.
For research.
For research purposes. All right. Let's talk about Heidi's arrest. In April of 1993, police were onto Heidi. Heidi was very proud of her business. She was pretty braggadocious about it. She never named names of her celebrity clients, although one of them, which we'll talk about later, was absolutely confirmed to be one of her clients. But she definitely would talk a lot at parties. She was a party girl. She liked to do drugs. She was doing coke, sometimes meth, drinking a lot, taking pills. And she would talk a lot about how, you know, I'm the best in the business. I'm the Hollywood madam. Like, I am the top.
It must be hard to be that rich and successful and not brag about it.
I don't blame her at all. But police were on to her, so they set up a sting operation to bust her for her prostitution ring. Detective Sammy Lee posed as a businessman from Honolulu and asked Heidi to meet him at a lounge in Beverly Hills. After 2 months of them talking back and forth together on the phone, this undercover detective asked Heidi to meet him at the Beverly Hills Hilton to work out the details of his arrangement with some Japanese businessmen who wanted girls. So Heidi sent some girls over in June, along with some cocaine, to the hotel where the girls were busted. That night, she also sent Charlie Sheen, her friend, home with some cocaine as well. And the next day, after the girls arrived, the next day, on June 9th, 1993, Heidi was arrested at her home in Benedict Canyon. When they arrested her, they seized bank statements, they seized her infamous little black book, they seized audio tapes, and 13 grams of coke. And they also seized traveler's checks signed by Charlie Sheen.
Did they seize the hanger and terry cloth towel dildo? I'm just kidding.
Unfortunately, that was never recovered. But some people say if you go to the Bahamas, you can hear it screaming.
If you put a conch shell up to your ear,
you can hear it.
You can hear it going, fuck me.
Fuck.
Wow.
So Sheen was a client of Heidi's, and that was confirmed.
What?
Whoa!
My mind is blown.
I just want to let you guys know that Sheen was said to have a cheerleader fantasy. He liked when girls dressed up as cheerleaders.
Ugh,
and
that's so basic.
It's really basic, but Sheen also, like, just judging by the women he likes, except for Denise Richards, but he loves, like, blonde, sort of young, whatever, girls. Heidi also claims that Shannon Doherty called her up for some girls one time. I think this is really funny. Shannon Doherty wanted 2 women for her fiance's bachelor party. And this is what Heidi said that Shannon said to her. I want them to be pretty, but not too pretty, which is such a Shannon Doherty thing to say. And I only want to spend $200. So Heidi was like, why don't you go do it yourself? And hung up on her.
Wow. Yeah. $200.
Yeah, that's so cheap. And it's like you have 90210 money at that point.
Right. She's like used to getting swag baskets, but like that doesn't work that way.
In 1983 or 92...
Also, you can't brag about having celeb clients in that field. So you get no bonus of giving them free shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's not like you can be like, and I have all the Hollywood's biggest stars.
Right. It was so dumb because, like, in 92, 93, Beverly Hills 90210 was the biggest fucking show on television. She was making so much money then. I just feel like if Charlie Sheen can cough up $1,500 for a hua...
Lahua.
So, for Lahua, so can you, Brenda Walsh.
Right. It's ridiculous because you're paying for discretion, too. I mean, yeah.
So Heidi was like, go fuck yourself.
Wait, who was her fiance?
I don't know.
You don't remember? Okay.
I don't remember.
Because she's married some fucking weird guys.
Yeah. Well, she's a weird girl.
Yeah.
Heidi also sent many girls to Washington. Also, she sent girls to both the Clinton and Bush administration.
Right.
Can you imagine Herbert Walker Bush with a prostitute?
Right, or like, like George Schultz or like one of his like gross trolley.
Right when he starts to come like, no new taxes. Yeah. Was that H.W. Bush?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Heidi was charged with pandering and narcotics possession. Heidi claims that Najee acted as an informant and was responsible for her arrest. Madam Alex also claims that Najee was working as an informant. She also wants to reiterate that he was a greedy Jew pig.
Yeah. Just in case you didn't
Just in case you forgot. Just in case you fucking forgot. So 6 weeks after Heidi was arrested, Yvonne Najee was also arrested for drugs and pandering, but he was never charged.
So that does sound like he made some kind of deal.
Yes, and that was actually something that led Heidi to sort of confirm to herself, like, yeah, this guy was working with the cops, with the police. He wasn't going to get charged. So, like I said before, Najee, he went on to sell nude photos of Heidi to Penthouse. He also made this film called Skinner, which is really fucking creepy. Skinner's about a movie. It's a movie about a man who skins prostitutes alive.
What?
And the main girl was named Heidi.
Ew.
Like, what's wrong with you? Get over it.
It's so gross.
What an asshole.
I was hoping it was about Mr. Skinner from The Simpsons.
Right?
Maybe he's the killer.
Maybe he is.
That's disgusting and creepy.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
It's really wrong. It just shows how unhinged this guy is. He was obsessed with Heidi.
Right.
Their relationship was, like, so fucking crazy and
It's
abusive.
hard to believe a guy who said he'd cut her brother's arms and legs could do something like this.
Right. How dare you? I mean, making a movie takes a lot of work and a lot of thought and a lot of time. It's not like
That's not the good kind of petty.
No. See, and there's the difference.
Right. That's like the psychotic kind of petty.
That's the difference. But Heidi's kind of petty where she printed out naked pictures of him. And they were funny naked pictures of him. It was like he was splayed out with like a glass of red wine.
Right.
And it was kind of like a paint. It looked like a painting too. So it wasn't super graphic. That's good petty. This is psychotic petty. So after Heidi was arrested, all reporters could talk about was Heidi's little black book. The scheduling books that she had the address book she had with all of her clients' information. Who were these celebrities in the little black book?
Right.
Who was in them? It's all anybody in town wanted to know, and people were just losing their shit collectively around town. Like, oh my God, like, who's going to get found out? Whose career is about to get ruined?
I mean, it says a lot about the times.
Oh, it's
that this was even. I mean, people would still want to know, but it would in no way ruin anyone in this day and age.
No.
I don't think. Also, the idea that there's a little black book. Like a handwritten.
And that's why I felt like I have to describe what this is to people born in the 90s.
Right.
Like a little black book was the thing you wrote down all your phone numbers in and your addresses in.
Filofax.
Filofax. So reporters were phoning everybody's publicist, from Jack Nicholson to Billy Idol, trying to figure out who was getting girls from Heidi. Billy Idol's publicist vehemently denied that Billy Idol had anything to do.
Was it like a preemptive denial?
I don't remember. I think so, because they were
hilarious.
like calling him. They're like, no, he didn't have anything to do with it. Even though it was rumored that Billy Idol would frequent clubs that Heidi went to. Right. They were seen together, hanging out in the same circles. He was rumored to have ordered 2 girls for a 3-way. But he was like, no, Billy Idol, my client Billy Idol has nothing to do with this.
I have a reputation.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, not only is it Billy Idol, but it's also 1993 Billy Idol. Like, dude just released a song 2 years ago or the 2 years prior, called Rock the Cradle of Love, about fucking a 12-year-old or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know
if
if it's about a baby. I have no idea.
But
I don't know if it's an exaggerated euphemism.
I'm just saying, it's Billy Idol. It's not like it's Martin Landau.
What?
I don't know why I just pulled that out of my ass.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. It's not like it's Ted Koppel. I'm just pulling random guys who.
I mean, this is
Billy
getting
Idol.
much more interesting. Yeah, it was Ted Koppel.
It was.
Yeah, it's just weird to think that people would be ashamed of it. Like,
I guess
they want to be like, I don't need to hire someone.
Well, that was.
But
his
I feel
thing.
I feel like that's not about that. Obviously, you can fuck whoever you want, but there's something about like, I'm coming to town. I don't need to fucking find someone, bring her here, and there's discretion. They're not going to sell a story in the National Enquirer or whatever.
Right, and I can have freaky sex if I want to.
I feel like that's completely understandable.
I do too. I think, like I said, like, destigmatize sex work as a whole, and this wouldn't have been a problem.
Right.
So the press was going crazy, and there were stories alleging that Sony executives were using studio money on Heidi's girls, flying around the world, paying for the women that they were having sex with. And Heidi, at the time, she actually threatened to write a tell-all for $1 million, but she was just joking. Heidi said in 1993... This might have been 94. This is 94. Heidi was interviewed for a February 1994 Vanity Fair article. It's a great article. You should read it. Heidi goes, "A lot of people are afraid of me, and they should be. Leaders of countries called and asked for sex. If it came out if I came out and really talked, I could have stopped NAFTA." Like,
that is quite a boast.
I'm just saying. This is how good Heidi was, is that she believes she could have stopped NAFTA.
Right. If only she had, Donald Trump couldn't have run on it.
But here's where I'm starting to really like Heidi, is like, I really love this woman's chutzpah. I really love that she is this...
That's not a brag that a dumb woman would make.
No.
Right? Like,
she's not like, I could have stopped the last action hero from being married.
Right. No.
She could have stopped NAFTA.
She's like, she knew enough about trade policy.
Right. I mean, some people on Twitter might have some hot takes to say about, well, technically, she couldn't have stopped. In July of 1994, after her arrest, Heidi opened up a clothing store in Pasadena named Heidi Wear, and they sold really generic, super generic loungewear. It was men's like, flannel boxers.
Camp Beverly Hills, kind of.
Yeah, exactly, but 1994.
Right.
So it was like men's flannel boxers, oversized white t-shirts that just said Heidi Wear, and the font looked suspiciously like the Everlast logo, but Heidi Wear, and like baseball hats, like dad baseball hats, and robes, just like loungewear. She needed a job. One of her employees at Heidi Wear, the store in Pasadena, was named Squirrel, which I just thought was funny. On July 28th, Heidi and her father, Paul, were indicted by a federal grand jury on charges of money laundering, conspiracy, and fraud. So the reason that Paul Fleiss was involved with all this is because a lot of Heidi's shit was in Paul's name. So he was getting accused of money laundering.
Right.
Like her car was in her dad's name. Her house was in her dad's name.
So he got dragged in.
He got dragged into this. And in September, Heidi checked into Impact House, which is an LA rehab facility, and after she tested positive for drugs. All right, let's talk about her trial. Heidi's had several trials, by the way. Her lawyers wanted to argue entrapment, that it wasn't fair, that she was being targeted.
Right.
While some jurors believed that she was unjustly entrapped by the police, others felt that she was absolutely guilty. But they were deadlocked, and to avoid being deadlocked, the jurors decided they were going to start bargaining with each other for votes on the different counts or on the different charges. Yeah. So they were trading votes with each other.
You do this,
Yeah, you say this, you vote this.
That seems like illegal.
It was.
Yeah.
It was very illegal. But it worked at first. So it worked. And on December 2nd, 1994, Heidi was found guilty of 3 counts of pandering. She was acquitted of the narcotics charges. A few weeks later, however, when it was discovered that the jurors had been trading votes, she was let out on bail and granted a new trial.
Does pandering carry a heavy prison sentence? Like, I have no idea.
No, years, not like life. Or 10 years or whatever. So a few weeks later, she was granted a new trial. In May of 1995, Heidi was sentenced to 3 years in prison for pandering and fined $1,500. But she posted $200,000 bond and was released because she was going to make an appeal. So pending her appeal of her conviction. And she ended up being able to appeal, and her conviction was overturned. So Heidi's been just postponing jail, but having all these trials. And finally, in July of 1995, Charlie Sheen testified in a video testimony, which he couldn't be there at the actual trial in person because he was on set. So he's making his video testimony is like him on set. He's sweating bullets in the video, nervous as hell. He's a wreck in the video. I couldn't find anywhere. That's just what the LA Times article about this said, that it was like a nervous and shaken, sweaty Charlie Sheen.
Ugh. Words you never want to hear together.
So he testified that he had gotten girls from Heidi at least 27 times, and that he spent a total of $50,000 on services, heterosexual services. He clarified.
He did that?
Yeah. Oh. He was like, heterosexual services.
No homo. That was the first instance of no homo.
It was it really was. Oh,
I love clarifying that when no one was thinking it.
Right.
Oh, okay.
It's so dumb. Okay, sure. Well, now everyone thinks they were homosexual services.
Right. Whenever someone does it, I'm like, oh, now I probably think there was something else.
Right. What are you hiding? And why are you
ashamed?
And I don't
care.
No.
Tell me about it.
It's not a big... you the top or bottom?
Was he just there jerking off while he was watching you? Like, what's your deal? What are you into?
And there's nothing wrong with it either.
Oh, no.
So
I
why
love
are
that.
you clarifying
Right.
it? All right. In January of 1997, Heidi's finally going to jail. She was charged with tax evasion and money laundering, and this is what ended up taking her down. She served a 37-month sentence in prison, and she was finally released in September of 1999.
Wait, how long was she in prison?
37 months.
Oh, okay.
The same year when she got out, she filed for bankruptcy, which sucks because she was making so much money. It's just like lawyer fees, legal fees.
I always get mad with people because I'm like, you went too far.
No, I know.
You know what I mean? Like, you could have, like,
yeah,
it's like,
you did something, you fucked up.
You gotta start like a garbage business or something. Like,
right.
So frustrating.
It makes, like, even in Goodfellas, like, I get really bummed.
Right. It's frustrating.
It's so frustrating when they fuck it all up because they're living high on the hog for a while.
Right, and if they only just kept it a little bit more low key.
Right, and that's she knew. Heidi's very self-aware.
Right.
And that's something I like about her. She even says in the 1984 Vanity Fair article, she's like, you know, the narrator's talking about her, the writer of the piece is talking about her flipping through a scrapbook, and she points to this article that had been written about her in 92, and she's like, this is where I went too far saying this.
Right.
Here.
She knows.
She knows. She's very self-aware. And she was only 27, mind you.
Right,
when she was...
And she was on drugs.
And she was on drugs.
Yeah.
So, for being a high school dropout on drugs, I'd say this lady is pretty savvy. I also appreciate Heidi's sort of feminist outlook and stance on sex work.
Right.
And her whole operation that was going on. And, you know, she was like, you know, look, if I'm going to go down, if you're going to take me down, you have to take the men down too, because they're just as guilty. They were soliciting. I'm providing a service that they want. You always just take the madam down or the women down. You don't take the men down who are soliciting this, who want this. So that was interesting. In 2002, she started dating Tom Sizemore. Oof. And I know. And he's a big piece of shit.
Right.
He was super abusive to her. They did not have a good relationship. He notoriously has a history of drugs as well. They broke up. And in 2008, she ended up moving out of LA to Pahrump, Nevada.
Ugh.
The reason she moved out of LA is because she still wanted to work. She wanted to work in the sex worker business still, but she couldn't do that, obviously, in Los Angeles because it's not legal here. So she moves to this county, Pahrump, in Nevada, which is just 40 minutes outside of Vegas, where it is legal.
Is that where the Bunny Ranch thing is?
I think that's where the Bunny Ranch is. I watched the show, Cat House.
Okay.
It's just basically softcore porn.
Right.
But I like the show. So she was gonna be a revolutionary. She's like, I'm opening up the first female centered brothel. It's a stud farm. It's just men.
Oh.
Which I'm like, that's so cool. Why don't we have that? And her philosophy behind it was great. She's like, you know, women deserve to just fuck some hot piece of ass guy and not have to see him again too.
Right.
Like what there's so many escort services that cater towards heterosexual men. Why don't we have one for heterosexual or bisexual women?
This is my feminist movement.
Sadly, she abandoned the project in 2009. Aww. I'm really bummed about that because I feel like
women just aren't into it. That's the problem.
I know, but I feel like women don't think women are into it, but I feel like I feel like there is more of a market than we're led to believe. I feel like I wouldn't personally be into it.
Right.
Necessarily.
I feel like part of the problem, like I just thought of this, men don't really care why a woman is into them as long as they're doing it. Whereas women really want to be wanted.
Right.
And if they feel like you're just paying for it, you know inside that it's a job for them. And a woman really wants to feel sexy to be into it. And I think that's the key problem in that proposition.
It's true. And I know there are plenty of women who do just like a one night stand, whatever. But
I think that's different because you're still seducing the guy into the one night stand. Yes. Whereas this is just, and I just feel like that's what a woman really, I mean, I'm speaking not for everyone.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
But I do feel like that is something that makes you feel really hot and you want to be like, you'll be into the sex
So it doesn't
more.
matter what he necessarily looks like if there's that attraction.
Right.
That physical attraction. Heidi also got really into parrots while she was in and birds.
Why? That's like a telltale sign of a crazy person.
Here's the thing about birds. I don't judge people who have birds. Desi does.
Okay.
The look on her face she just made. She went...
I mean, I know people who have birds.
I do too. I know and love people who have birds. I don't get birds.
I just know people.
I don't... Here's the thing. Desi doesn't love them. She just knows them. I just don't get birds as a pet because I like to cuddle with my pets.
Right.
And you can't cuddle with a bird.
It also seems sadder to me to have a bird in captive.
Right, because they can't fly.
I don't know, yeah.
So Heidi was... This is how she got into birds and parrots and shit. She was living next to this, like, super old former madam.
Do they all go somewhere?
I don't know. They all go to Pahrump to die. And this lady, I was watching this documentary today about Heidi. It was called Heidi, like the Queen of Crystal or something. It's on HBO Go.
Crystal what? Meth?
Well, that's what I thought at first too. I'm like, Crystal. And Crystal was like the town that her brothel was going to be in Pahrump.
The Queen of Crystal. Oh man, that's sad.
I really thought it was going to be more about meth, and I was sorely disappointed.
Yeah.
So she's living next to this really old lady. She has a breathing tube on, like with an oxygen tank, and she's surrounded by cages of birds. No decor in the house, just like a bed, some vertical blinds, and a shit ton of fucking birds in cages. And exotic birds, too.
That seems like so hard.
And this lady is bedridden, too. She can't take care of the birds. So Heidi is coming over to this former madam's house and just taking care of the birds for her.
This sounds like my nightmare.
And Heidi's, like, telling in the interview, she's like, everyone wants these birds. What?
Jesus Christ.
Like, everyone wants these birds. Like, I shouldn't have gotten into the bitches business. Should have gotten into the birds business. They cost a lot of money.
Right.
I'm like, who's buying exotic birds? Except maybe the sheiks that she met when they were...
right.
I don't know. Like, who buys, like, a king?
I have a large sphere of influence. I can use my former Johns to buy exotic birds.
Would you also like a bird with your blowjob? Can sell it 2 for 1 special.
Buy 2 blowjobs, get a bird for free.
I'm coming. So,
Gross.
So they talked, too. The birds talked.
Oh.
Yeah, they were very smart.
They gave state's evidence against Heidi.
But, like, anyone who's into, like, a niche kind of animal or a niche pet just, like, knows all these weird facts about them.
Right.
So she was like, and they really like to talk. Birds are really smart, you know, like.
Let's just get sadder and sadder.
I just can't. You can't take the bird out. You can't take it to bed with you to cuddle and watch a movie. So I don't really get the point of it as a pet. No. I just don't get it. If someone does understand
I'm literally waiting for people to reply you pictures of them snuggling with their birds.
I want them to, because please make this less sad for me.
Okay.
I want to be disproven about your bird pet. If you have a bird pet, I want to hear about it. Okay. So she got into parrots. And in 2010, Heidi was cast on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew, which
I saw that season.
I've never watched that show before. I've just seen clips from it. I have my whole other issues with Dr. Drew, just as like the whole recovery, making a profit off recovery is in general is just, it can go so wrong so quickly and be so shady on so many levels. Just having been in recovery for so long and seeing plenty of sober livings and rehabs that exploit each other. Obviously, not all of them do that, but there are so many stories that, you know, really take advantage of people and charge so much. And I feel like it's sort of the exploitative nature of having a reality TV show about treatment.
Right.
And on reality shows, the producers are going to be doing stuff to make it more interesting. And what they decided to do to make it more interesting, what I feel like is a total fucking breach of ethics, is they put Tom Sizemore on the same season as her.
Right.
So
it's like the little rom-com.
Yeah, it's like, what happens when a meth head gets reunited with her abusive boyfriend? Next on Celebrity Rehab.
Yeah.
Like, that is so fucked up.
Yeah.
I would be so pissed.
They were enemies.
Yeah. He was beating her with a wrench, and she was crying for mercy.
They came together in rehab, and sparks flew.
This will be an everlasting love this fall.
The ultimate meet cute. It is so fucked up, and I did watch that season.
I just remember the episode of Celebrity Rehab with Kanicki.
Oh God, yeah.
Poor
Jeff Conway.
Is he dead?
Yeah, he's dead.
Okay.
I think a lot of people from that show are dead. Like at least like 3 or 4 people.
I think so. I know one of them personally who's doing really well, and he's a really good person. But I'm not going to say any more about that. But most of I don't know many of the people who are doing well on that show. I feel like
it's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea, in my opinion.
As much as I enjoy it.
I'm sure people are going to be like, but Dr. Drew, he's a good guy. I'm like,
no, he's boring.
Look, I didn't like him on Loveline, the show in the 90s. I thought he was boring, and whatever. I'm sure he's helped a lot of people. I just think it's a really shitty idea to put these two together.
Right.
She relapsed several times, surprise, surprise, after her episode air. And later, after that, in Animal Planet, I think in 2011, they aired a special about her new life called From Prostitutes to Parrots.
Jesus.
So the parrots are still in the picture.
Right.
As late as 2013. They're probably still in the picture.
The drugs have come and gone.
The parrots have remained. In 2013, she was busted in Nevada for having 400 marijuana plants.
I thought you were going to say 400 parrots. Like she had too many parrots.
No, but the parrots saved her in this situation.
Okay.
They didn't fly her to safety, but they did save her. They got her out of a sticky situation.
Wow.
The police didn't arrest her because she was too busy caring for $200,000 worth of exotic birds, which I didn't know was a defense, but apparently they're like, all right, you have enough problems.
I like that is a defense, because I feel like, yes. Because they're like, we don't want to confiscate all these fucking birds.
They just
and
didn't
have them
want
in
to
the evidence room.
They didn't want all the fucking birds in the evidence. Like, what are we going to do with all these? That's another show. What
so
happened?
if I ever buy $500,000 worth of exotic birds, you know I'm about to murder someone. That will be the telltale sign.
I want to see that show. Right. Right, she's got the crack in her ass. So, that's pretty much Heidi's story.
I did not know the parrot stuff. It's so demented to me. It's like literally the most disturbing part of the story for me.
More than having to fuck sheiks and that you don't want to fuck, and more than having to fuck Ronald Reagan at some fucking gala.
I will fuck Ronald Reagan before I will take care of an exotic bird. That's my story. Wow.
Oh my
God. That's sad. What a sad footnote.
It's really sad. I really wish that Heidi was doing better. The last business I heard that she had was in Pahrump, a laundry business.
Can you imagine living in Pahrump? Like, nothing good can come of this.
It's called Pahrump.
I've heard of this town because I watched that, or I used to listen to that show, Coast to Coast. And the host, Art Bell, moved to Pahrump. So that's how I know
because the aliens are out there?
I guess. I don't fucking know. Like, it just sounds so sad. It's like, listen, I don't even like Vegas, but that's literally the only place that seems worth living.
I know Pahrump because I drive through it all the time on the way to Vegas.
Right. I've seen the signs.
And whenever I drive through it, I'm always like, oh my God, really close to Vegas. And then coming home from Vegas, it's always really sad seeing it because I'm like, ugh, I have to leave Vegas and now like look where we are.
It sounds like a tuba sound. Like, nothing's good about a tuba.
No,
don't associate yourself with tubas, please.
It's not good at all. So, anyway, I was going to say she has a laundromat called Dirty Laundry. Just like, you're better than that. Like, you're better than that.
You don't want to have a business name pun.
No. It's like those hair salons that are called like Curl Up and Dye.
It's just bad.
Any business name pun, there's no good business name pun.
It's always going to be sad unless you're literally a multimillionaire from it. Like...
Right. There's only one good business name pun, but it's not a pun except for me, is the Come and Go. I think it's in the Valley. It's like
it's like a Quickie Mart.
Yeah, but it's like spelled K-U-M.
I didn't know there was one in the Valley. I thought it was like a Midwest thing.
Maybe it is. Someone sent us a picture of that.
Okay.
Were they in the Midwest?
I've had people send me that picture literally like 100 fucking times. Believe me.
Desi, have you seen
this? You know, there's something called Come.
Have you seen Come?
It's like, believe me, I saw that when I was like fucking 4. I've seen every cum thing in existence, please.
There's a liquor store in the Valley, though, that's called Liquor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Liquor?
I thought it was cum liquor.
No, it's Liquor.
No, I thought that the pun is
cum
liquor. It's like cum liquor.
Oh.
I have no idea.
That's my liquor.
Yeah. Okay,
that's
cool.
Heidi Fleiss.
Awesome.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.